Before we begin, let me warn you, these are some of the most ridiculous, embarrassing, and absurd stories that happened to me and my family. There are jails, fires, cockroaches, gasoline, 38 hours of spitting at each other, and even a piece of rotten meat that's 5 weeks old. Each one starts innocent, but ends worse than you'd expect. Stay until the end, the last story is the wildest. One time my cousin guanaba a Pota cell phone that was supposedly bulletproof, and he was showing it off like it was the last Coke in the desert. He said it was indestructible, that nothing could even scratch it. But 5 minutes later, my little cousin Tiso grabs the phone without permission and drops a brick weighing about 10 kilos on it, and all we hear is a loud crack. And just like that, about 40,000 pesos went down the drain. We checked the phone and there wasn't even a molecule left. In the end, that fool Tisoc ended up in debt for 15 years just for wanting to put it to the test. One time my dad scolded me and made a scene in the school cafeteria because I had spent 7,000 pesos. 500 pesos in a month because they would let me buy everything on credit, and at the end of the month the bill will come. But there was one month when I went overboard because I kept going to the cafeteria all the time. I would grab a Coke and tell the lady, put it on my tab. And then I'd come back, grab a flan, put it on my tab. It got to the point where I didn't even have to say it anymore. I would just grab it, show it to her, and she already knew she got to put it on my tab. And in the end, my dad took away my ability to buy on credit and only gave me 20 pesos, just a few pesos a day for taking advantage. Wow, so much money! One time, my dad, who worked in the prison, made some inmates get into a fight because he became friends with a guy they called the Hammer. And one day, there was tuberculosis inside the prison, and my dad always carried his hand sanitizer. And one day, Hammer says to my dad, "Lick, could you give me that little bottle of hand sanitizer? You know, there's tuberculosis." And my dad agreed and gave it to him. But the next day, my dad found out that Hammer and some other inmates had gotten into a fight because with the hand sanitizer my dad had given him, they made alcoholic drinks and mixed it with Fanta. So when Hammer sees my dad, he says to him all apologetic, "Sorry, I messed up, Lick." One time, my dad almost got poisoned because he ate some raw and rotten meat that was in the fridge. But the thing is, he saw something brown that looked like beans. So he tasted it and said it was awful. But even so, he made it into a taco because my dad is capable of eating even a sewer rat. But then he told me his stomach hurt, and in his head he thought, I think that stuff was dog food. But in the end, my mom told him what he had eaten was raw meat. It had been there for about 5 weeks and nobody had eaten it. What's the problem? The dog eats pretty well. One time when it was Christmas, my friend Panza and I almost set a car on fire with a sparkler because we were out in the street enjoying Christmas and lighting fireworks. But then Panza says, let's throw our sparkler as fast as we can at the same time. So I got my jerk-off arm ready, and at the same time Panza and I threw a sparkler as far as we could. But unfortunately mine landed on the windshield of a car, and instead of just sparking, it exploded. It cracked the car's windshield and the car alarm went off. So in the end, Panza and I ran away so we wouldn't get in trouble. Run, Fatty! Run, Fatty! One time at my house, there was a shortage of food because my parents hadn't gone to the supermarket. And one afternoon, I went downstairs to see if there was anything good to eat. But there was nothing, just a dried up lemon. So I went back up to my room. But 5 minutes later, I went back downstairs to see if something had spawned already, maybe by chance in the fridge. And I kept doing that for more than 2 hours. I got tired of nothing spawning and ordered Pollo Loco. Once when I was a kid, I almost became the homeless guy on the corner because I went to a gas station, and when they opened the windows I started sniffing. Sniff, 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 and I liked the smell of gasoline. Until one day I told my mom, "Hey mom, can you buy me a liter of gasoline?" And she looks at me confused and says, "Are you a transformer or what? Why do you want gasoline? You're crazy." The good thing is she didn't buy it for me. Are you okay? One time my brother basically told me I was super ugly, like a monster, because my brother was asleep in his room, but it looks like he got sleep paralysis. I went in to find something and he woke up. He sees me and starts shaking in fear, and I was standing at the door of the room staring at him because I had no idea what the heck was wrong with him. So then he just kind of went back to sleep. But later, when he was already awake, I asked him, "What the heck happened to you earlier?" And he said, "I peed myself out of fear. I thought you were a monster." And I was like, "What? Come on, man, am I really that ugly?" One time I was taking a shower and a cockroach crawled up my leg because the drain in my bathroom was really open. So to cover it, I put a Comex paint bucket over it and it worked great. Not a single cockroach after that. But one day my cousin, the snob, came over and saw my little bucket. She started criticizing me, saying I was tacky for having a bucket in the bathroom. In the end, I threw the cockroach in her face so she'd stop messing around. One time when my little brother Chabelin got home from school, I kicked his backpack because I wanted to annoy him and make him mad. But when he saw me, I started laughing. Then he said, "You kicked my backpack, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah." Then he told me to kneel down and apologize to his backpack, or else bad things would happen. But instead of apologizing to the backpack, I spit on it. Then he spit on me, and then I spit on him. Then the biggest and longest spit battle I've ever been in started. It lasted 38 hours, 28 minutes, and 7 seconds. Until finally, we made peace by spitting into each other's hands and shaking them to strengthen our brotherhood, announcing the end of the battle. Once when I was a kid, my house almost caught on fire. It was because of my friend Tololoche. He had stayed over at my house, and I had a lamp that gave off a really powerful light, like enough to light up a soccer stadium. So while we were playing, Tololoche says, "Dude, turn that thing off, or put a towel over it." So I listened to him. But then we were just chilling and playing, and we started to smell something. Sniff, sniff, sniff. And Tololoche says, "It smells like burning fabric, right?" And I thought, oh man, he found out that my PlayStation is chipped and it's burning up. But then we look at the lamp, and that thing was putting out a ton of smoke and was about to catch fire. Good thing we were awake, because if not, we would have woken up in the next world. Lead us not into temptation and deliver. One time when I was 7 years old, I was taking a shower and I almost went blind because shampoo got in my eyes. And honestly, I don't know what the heck they put in that shampoo, but I felt like my life was passing in slow motion. I was screaming like I was being exorcised. So I ran out of the bathroom with my eyes all red, worse than if I was high, or like my aunt crying while watching her afternoon soap opera. My mom saw me and asked, "What happened to you?" And I said, "Nothing. I just found out I'm allergic to showering." And from that day on, I wash my hair with swimming goggles on, because I'm not dumb enough to risk it twice. And always be sure to keep the soap out of your eyes. One time, a crazy teacher in elementary school used to insult me and the whole class because, according to her, we behaved badly. So every time we did something she didn't like, she would say to us, "You're a bunch of slackers." And honestly, all my classmates, we were between 10 and 11 years old. We had no idea what a slacker was. Until one day, my buddy Simba looked it up and answered the teacher back all proud. In front of the whole class, he said, "Well, you're a tick. A low down one." And the whole class and I started laughing at what he said, and the teacher felt so offended that she started crying, the dummy. My God, this is going to be epic, guys.